title in white capital letters on a black background. Connecting body. On-screen text. The connecting body method focuses on creating accessible and inclusive physical spaces in which music and dance bring social groups together that would rarely or never communicate with each other in everyday life. The basic tool it applies is body music, an experiential way of coexistence and communication that relies exclusively on the voice and movement of the body for the production of music. In a blurred image of an interior space, figures of people are faintly visible. They stand upright, close to each other. Slowly, the image clears, focusing on the profile of a young blonde woman smiling broadly, Sofia. I could not imagine how to start a relationship without contact. And here I saw that in just a few meetings, I felt very comfortable. And this was achieved through sound. It was so... The body is magical. Everyone's sounds were so recognizable after a certain point. And today I understood that hugging, which was the first real physical contact we had, did not surprise me. It was as if it had happened. We just did it. I had felt this hug long before. Natasha, a smiling girl with brown hair gathered in a high bun. I was impressed every time because there was not a single meeting in which I had not been moved. Even a small moment. It could have been someone's smile. It could have been a communication between two people, a joke, a very expressive moment, or a very nice sound from someone. This never happens to me at my job, to be, that is, such an intensely emotional profession. Nefeli, a young brunette girl with a slender face and round eyeglasses, is exploratively touching the back of her jaw with her eyes closed. Nikos, a young boy with short brown curly hair and round glasses, rubs his left stretched forearm with his right palm. Nefeli taps her palms gently on her chest. Another young brunette girl, Kelly, makes a sound as she opens and closes her mouth with her hand. In a bright, empty space, all the members of the group are standing in a circle. Among them Kostas, a dark-haired man in his 30s. His white cane is leaning against the wall. Yiota asks Virginia, "What comes to your mind first, if you recall what we did? The movement or the vocals, the syllables we say?" Virginia: "First the sound of the voice. That first, and then the movement. I mean, the movement follows. It helps me more." Yiota: "Is this the case for everyone? Meaning, if you try to remember the pyramid, do you do it through the syllables or through movement?" Nefeli: "I understand the sound much more kinetically than I thought, because I have to see it to figure it out. If I cheated and I opened my eyes to see if I'm doing the right thing, many times my hands were in a completely opposite part of the body than where I imagined they were when I had my eyes closed." Yiota, a woman around 40 with short curly black hair, shows Kostas how to open and close his arms while clapping rhythmically. Kostas stands in front, and a little behind him is Maria, a woman around 40 with rich brown hair up to her shoulders. They are holding their positions, clapping rhythmically. The rest of the team in a circle does the same, alternating taps on the chest, thighs, and hips in sync. They add their feet to the same pattern by stomping them rhythmically on the floor. They end up in a rotation around their axis. As the sound-kinetic pattern continues, Yiota stays in the center of the circle with a smile on her face, observes and directs the group. The whole group is in sync, constantly playing music with her body until Yiota raises her arms. And stop. Very nice. Are we a little shy with our voice? Virginia, a woman in her 40s with long, straight brown hair, swings airily in her place and sings without sound. Virginia. The first day that I started, the first year in this workshop, I didn't really feel open, and I could not express myself in this way. And I always wondered how I would perform. I looked at each one separately, at their movements, and I wondered how each person was able to do it, and let alone me, who could not hear well. I tried to open up and manifest and express myself better. While they all sing syllables together, Kostas and Maria dance as a couple, holding each other. Natasha. Maria, this question was created from some personal discussions we had, where I remember you saying that there are moments where, let's say, your disability moves to the background, because at that moment you're in action and you're concentrating on something else. Do you remember moments of this happening here? Maria, look, this is generally the case when I manage to do things. When I function normally, I forget that I can't see. When I'm not functional, I get frustrated. When I function well, when I participate in my own way, I forget about it. I function normally. And from what you told me, maybe I've been getting better. I'm more stable, I walk straighter. It probably has had a positive effect on me. Yiota. What matters most is if you feel that it has benefited you. Maria. Yes, I told you that it works for me like psychotherapy because in order to concentrate here, to do the right thing, you forget about all your other problems, and that has benefited me a lot. That was the main reason I started attending, because it made me feel extremely well afterwards. Sofia and Maria, next to each other, performed the little dance in sync. Yiota. Very nice. Your dance was very nice, girls. Sofia, we are still a little stiff. We are timid girls, thanks. Sofia takes Maria by the hand and they leave. The group, scattered in space, is divided into pairs and they talk. They try out movements, the sign language interpreter to a couple. Did we get it? Kostas, we are trying. Kostas and Virginia, next to each other, present their own combination. Kostas. I used to be a person who had a hard time externalizing some things, and improvisation helped me do it. To feel free as a human being, to become a little more extrovert, let's say. Kostas shows the team his kinetic improvisation while he sings rhythmic syllables and smiles. Christos, a man in his 40s with a gray beard, stands up and concentrates. He performs a series of movements while rhythmically vocalizing syllables. Nikos and Kelly discuss about their improvisation. Kelly is trying to use sign language movements. Kelly, somehow the specific music we play really helps me express myself, perhaps better. It gives me information as a process for my life in general. I can add something in my teaching or use elements in communications that I will have on a personal level. Now, specific elements I cannot mention. I think it's something which generally opens you up. Sofia, I can include sounds while dancing that will eventually help blind people to better understand how I move in a space. Apart from the audio description, the sounds will also help them understand where I am in the space. Till now, I would usually muffle the sounds because I thought they were disruptive. The 10 members of the group, spread out in space simultaneously, perform the same series of movements with their whole body while moving slowly and steadily in different directions. Nikos speaks in Greek Sign Language. The interpreter translates. In the past, I have been in contact with people with other disabilities. The difference compared to now is, well, I would not call it a difference, it is the same. There is a communication problem because I cannot hear. Maybe the other people with different disabilities are hearing abled, while I am deaf. So there is the problem of communication. Of course, everything can be overcome. There is a way to make this happen. Kostas, before this workshop, I did not have any specific contact with the various social groups with deaf people like in here. Because of my blindness, I could not communicate somehow with them. After all, I didn't know the ways to communicate with them. Through this workshop, I understand that you can communicate in various ways with them, such as sound, pulse, movement, and so on. Sofia, I understand that people evolve through art, from such activities, and socially. This is how society changes, by private initiative. That is, we discover that we must first evolve ourselves to care about each other, so that finally our actions and such seminars and initiatives will constitute a crack in the political system and in the social system. For the system itself to be interested in creating a city structure similar to the way we care to create spaces that are accessible and inclusive. Hopefully, there will be suggestions and presentations which will eventually create a city that is accessible and inclusive. Kostas. Here, at Playground, which is an independent organization, I think we can be together. That is, if we were in an institution which is only for the blind, only they would be there. In a space only for the deaf, only they would be there. In this space, we can all be together. It's not nice to only be around people with the same disability as you. You have to be in diverse places. This is the magic, to be able to communicate, to see how people with different disabilities make it work. Close-ups of palms tapping lightly on the sternum, fingers snapping and feet stomping to the rhythm of the sung syllables. As the movement slows down, the image fades out. Christos, sitting next to the sign language interpreter. I hear, therefore I exist. Or respectively, I am seen, therefore I exist. Sofia said something really nice earlier. I understood that if I amplify a sound I make, maybe I can help a person to understand me better. Very often, people who use a white cane, at first they are very closed off in this aspect during the training. They avoid making sounds, noises, or to be seen. They are looking to hide, trying not to bother others, not to hit a car, for example, or a motorbike, not to get in the way of someone passing by them. So when they do, they lose safety. They are not heard, so the other does not take them into consideration. Therefore, in a way, this workshop comes to fill in this gap, in a sense that when you become part of the music, a rhythm, a pattern, as we say, and you give your own style to this, the other person recognizes you, remembers you, and values you more. Just like with the cane, when you navigate outside, or respectively for the people who do not hear well, they manage to be perceived and felt by those around them in their own way. I did not know that when someone who cannot hear and wants to address someone else who also does not hear, that they stomp their foot on the wooden floor to cause noise. I had never thought of this thing before. If this person thought that with what they are doing might disturb those around them, they would never be able to communicate with a deaf person. Now, as far as what my impression was about music and what I think of it after the workshop, I don't think I have a lot to tell you because I do not have the knowledge, but I definitely understood how it's best for me and for those around me to become part of a set of sounds. Because that's what our daily life is, a set of sounds, from which we just choose what we will keep and what not. Standing in their places, Kostas and behind him Nikos are clapping. Next to them, Sofia and behind her Virginia do the same. They add foot stomps. They are all trying to find the pulse of the moment. Others look intently at Kostas and others focus only on their hearing. Kostas rhythmically snaps his fingers and the rest of the team follows him. They continue with a combination of successive and continuous musical movements. Nikos observes Kostas in front of him and follows his movements. Kostas, deeply concentrated, creates sounds and movements. Yiota is sitting next to Christos. Yiota, you asked me at one point, during a break, imagine a language made only of sounds, where we could communicate, walk on the street, go out, and not speak this spoken language we know, but to speak a musical language. Christos, doesn't it exist after all? Yiota claps her hands rhythmically and observes the team carefully. Gradually changes speed and everyone harmonizes. Then Yiota claps gently, fast claps with an upward movement, starting low from the floor to over the head. She approaches Kostas and stands in front of him. He listens to her and follows the movement. Yiota turns to Maria, stops in front of her and repeats the same movement. The whole team claps from bottom to top at the same time. Natasha moves between them. They continue with light, fast strokes of their hands on their chest. Yiota observes Maria carefully and then changes movement, hitting her open palm of her left hand firmly with the index finger on her right hand. The movement changes to finger snapping. She sees Maria's hands that immediately respond to the stimulus and willingly create the same sound. Yiota smiles contentedly and goes back to the movement of the index finger on the palm. Continuing with hand rubbing, all team members rub their palms. Yiota approaches Maria again and brings her hands in front of her at a short distance. It's time for the legs. Alternately, and at a steady pace, Yiota lifts the heel of each foot off the floor and lowers it again with a light tap. The same movement is repeated immediately by everyone. Christos sitting between Yiota and the sign language interpreter. I was listening to Virginia's breathing. And of course, I was very happy because I felt that she was enjoying what she was doing. It was like a dialogue somehow. It was a communication, and you know, it's something that makes you finally realize how much you would need what you do not have. Supposedly, this project's goal is to make people who cannot see each other and cannot hear each other to synchronize their movements and tune into the sound that their bodies make. Beyond how interesting and magical this is, I wonder in the end, how much do you need your eyesight to manage to dance with a person? Or how much do you need your hearing to be able to dance with someone? So in a way, does this language not exist? Yiota: yes, it does. Christos. Right. I think for me personally, and I realize it now as I am telling you, I had never thought of it before, that the biggest gift I received from this brief experience was that I learned that such a language does exist. That's all. I was previously unaware of it, and I was not looking for it. Now, at least, I know it exists. I do not know how to speak it, but I know it exists, and I feel much more prepared, if at some point I need it again, to learn it and to speak it. That's all. Virginia stands a little behind the other group members and sings syllables combining them with foot stomps on the floor. The others listen to her very carefully. A little further away, Nikos stands leaning against a wall and observes them. In absolute silence, everyone remains motionless in their positions, except for Maria, who sways, holding the rhythm. Maria's movement fades out, and Yiota brings the whole team together. Yiota, everyone hold your breath and let's hug. Come on, come on. Christos, guys, COVID. Everyone becomes part of a group hug. Perfect. Well done. Thank you very much. We thank you too. With smiles on their faces, they all untie their hands and applaud. Closing credits follow. Screen text. Direction, Yiota Peklari and Chrysanthi Badeka. Director of Photography, Cinematography, Editing, Chrysanthi Badeka. Participants, Christos Koutsovasilis, Nikos Leventakis, Maria Mamantaki, Nefeli Kouvela, Virginia Petrinoli, Kostas Vassilis, Marianna Desypri, Alivanistou, Sofia Stavrakaki. Workshop design, Yiota Peklari. Implementation, Yiota Peklari, Natasa Handa-Martin. Interpretation in Greek Sign Language, Androniki Xanthopoulou. Audio description and subtitling for the deaf and hard of hearing, Kerasia Michalopoulou. English adaptation, Yiota Peklari. Quality control, Kerasia Michalopoulou, Patra Marousi. Recitation, Natasa Handa-Martin. Transliteration in International Sign Language, Olga Dalekou. Accessibility Service, Liminal Access. Production, Playground for the Arts, September-November 2021. With the financial support of the Greek Ministry of Culture. The workshop material draws inspiration from the teachings of our beloved mentor and friend, Keith Terry.